I remember Joe Frazier. He was the toughest guy I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Smokin Joe Frazier. My mother watched him fight on television, and he hit a guy so hard the guy turned his back. And I kept thinking, I want to be champ of the world, but I sure hope Joe Frazier dies.
What could make Muhammad Ali, the man who called himself the greatest, admit that he had just faced the closest thing to death he had ever known? The answer was not a giant. It was a man standing 5 feet 11 inches tall, blind in one eye, with a deformed arm since childhood, who still knocked down and broke the greatest fighters of his generation. Ali himself said it out loud. Joe Frazier is the nearest thing to death that I know. In the next 5 stories, the legends of boxing will tell you exactly why. October 1st, 1975, Quezon City, Philippines. Inside the Araneta Coliseum, the temperature climbed past 105 degrees Fahrenheit. The air was thick with heat and sweat. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier were about to fight for the third and final time in what the world would remember as the Thrilla in Manila. What most people watching did not know was that Frazier had already lost most of the vision in his left eye years earlier, the result of an accident at a slaughterhouse. He was stepping into the most brutal fight of his life, half blind. For 14 rounds, Ali threw hundreds of punches directly at Frazier's face. Frazier absorbed them and kept walking forward. He drove crushing blows into Ali's ribs and body without stopping. By the 14th round, both of Frazier's eyes had swollen nearly shut. He was spitting blood. He could barely see. And yet, when the bell rang to end that round, Frazier was still growling and demanding to continue. His trainer Eddie Futch had seen enough. He stepped in and stopped the fight over Frazier's furious protest. Across the ring, Ali had already told his own corner he was thinking of quitting. Futch was simply 1 second faster. Muhammad Ali said immediately after the fight, "Joe Frazier, I want to tell the whole world right now, he is the greatest fighter of all time, next to me. That is the closest to death that I have ever known." Sports writer Ed Schuyler of the Associated Press recalled, "Everyone at ringside understood they were watching greatness and brutality at the same moment. No one had ever seen 2 men give that much." Frazier himself said of Ali after that night, "He won, but I sent him home worse than he came. I wanted to take his heart." March 8, 1971, Madison Square Garden, New York City. Both men walked into that arena undefeated. Both claimed to be the heavyweight champion of the world. The fight was called the Fight of the Century, and for once, the name was not an exaggeration. In the weeks before the bout, Ali had done everything possible to get inside Frazier's head. He called him an Uncle Tom. He called him a gorilla. He told the press that Frazier was too slow, too ugly, and too stupid to beat a man like him. The insults were designed to provoke, to destabilize, to make Frazier fight with anger instead of discipline. Frazier did not take the bait. He went to work. For 15 rounds, Frazier pressed forward with relentless pressure, cutting off the ring, walking through Ali's combinations, and punishing him to the body at every opportunity. Then, in the 15th and final round, Frazier loaded up his left hook and landed it flush on Ali's jaw. The greatest, the man the world believed could not be knocked down, crashed to the canvas. The image stunned everyone watching. Frazier won by unanimous decision. Referee Art Mercante said afterward, "Joe Frazier that night was a pressure machine. Every time Ali landed a punch, Joe would shudder for just a moment and then come forward again, as if the pain only made him stronger." Ali, in a rare moment of honesty, admitted, "Nobody hits like Frazier. I know I lost to a great champion." Frazier had said before the fight, "Clay says I can't touch him. He will find that ring getting smaller and me getting bigger. I did not come here to box. I came here to work." What do you think about Joe Frazier after everything you have just heard? Do not go anywhere, because the stories coming next are even more surprising. Throughout his entire professional career, from 1965 to 1981, Joe Frazier carried 2 secrets that the boxing world did not fully understand until long after his greatest fights were over. The first secret was his left eye. In 1965, an accident at a slaughterhouse left Frazier with severely damaged vision in that eye. He memorized the eye chart to fool the medical examiners. Every fight he ever won, including the night he knocked down Muhammad Ali in 1971, was fought with half the vision of a normal man. The second secret was his left arm. An injury from childhood had left the arm unable to straighten completely. Most fighters would have considered this a permanent disadvantage. Frazier turned it into something else entirely. The natural bend in his arm gave his left hook an angle and a trajectory that no opponent could fully predict. The mechanics of that imperfection were part of what made the punch so devastatingly effective. A man who was partially blind and had a physically limited arm became the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. That is not a story about talent. That is a story about will. Larry Holmes, who sparred extensively with Frazier, said, "Joe hit me with that left hook and I saw 1,000 stars. I could not believe that a man who could barely see from his left side could still find your chin that accurately." Frazier never apologized for the deception. He simply said, "One eye was enough to find their chin." October 1964, the Olympic Games in Tokyo, Japan. Joe Frazier was representing the United States of America in the heavyweight division, and he was one fight away from the gold medal. In the semifinal, Frazier broke his left thumb and badly injured his left hand, the same hand that carried his most dangerous weapon. In amateur boxing, an injury of that nature is typically the end of the road. A fighter withdraws. The hand is protected. The tournament is over. Frazier told nobody. He wrapped the hand as tightly as he could and walked out for the gold medal final against Hans Huber of Germany. Every punch he threw with that hand sent a shock of pain through his arm. He fought the entire final at less than full capacity, relying almost entirely on willpower to keep throwing and keep pressing forward. He won a close decision and brought home the only gold medal in boxing for the United States of America that year. His trainer, Yank Durham, said afterward, "Joe never said a word about that hand. He just wrapped it tight and went out there and broke his opponent down. That is the kind of man we are talking about." Frazier said simply, "Pain is temporary. If I had not fought, I would have lived with the regret forever." 1959, Beaufort, South Carolina. Joe Frazier was 15 years old and working on a farm owned by a white man named Jim Bellamy, in a part of the United States of America where a black teenager had very little protection and even fewer rights. One day, Frazier witnessed Bellamy brutally beat a 12-year-old black child for accidentally damaging a tractor. Frazier told the other workers what he had seen. When Bellamy found out, he came for Frazier with a belt and a threat. The 15-year-old boy looked the grown man directly in the eyes and said, "You better use that belt to hold your pants up, because you will never use it on me." The certainty in Frazier's eyes stopped Bellamy cold. He threw Frazier off the farm instead of attacking him. Frazier's mother, Dolly Frazier, understood immediately that her son was too hard to survive in the South. She scraped together the money for a bus ticket and sent him north that same night. She told him, "Son, if you cannot hold your tongue around white people here, you have to leave right now. I do not want to see you hanging from a tree." Frazier boarded the bus alone and said later, "I was 15 years old and I knew I was on my own. I was ready for whatever came next." George Foreman said in 2011, "Joe Frazier was the most mentally durable fighter I ever faced. You could knock him down, but you could never knock out his will." Eddie Futch said, "Joe did not come to perform. He came to take away your ability to breathe." Where does Joe Frazier rank among the all-time greats? Leave your answer in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to the channel so we can discuss it together.